Good morning, y'all. Welcome to Sweet Pea's Southern Home. My name is Christy, and today we are going to do a little cook from the pantry dinner and dessert, and then I put two videos together, and so in the morning we're going to do a baked oatmeal. So right now I'm working on dessert. This is a peach cake, and I have 3/4 cup of sugar, 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'll be putting in 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of salt for my dry ingredients. I'll have this recipe typed up down below for you. You can use either almond flavoring or vanilla flavoring. I chose to use almond this time. And I will say that I think my baking powder was expired. It came out fine, but when you see me make the baked oatmeal, I got some new baking powder. We have a 1/2 cup of oil and a 1/2 cup of milk. You could use, the recipe called for buttermilk. I didn't have it. I just used regular milk. I know you can make your own buttermilk, but I didn't fool with that today. And then you need 2 cups of any fruit. It doesn't have to be peaches. It could be canned or frozen. I'm using frozen peaches today. And that is really it for our ingredients. Here I am putting in my almond oil. I am cooking this one today in a pie pan, but you don't have to. You can use a loaf pan if you'd rather. The puppies were out and they were making a lot of noise, and so I just decided to do a voiceover for this video. But I did forget something, which I'm going to catch myself at it in a minute. Luckily, I caught myself right before it had been in the oven too long. I was wondering, right now I'm wondering, why is this so thick? Wasn't expecting it to be quite that thick. But I'm going to figure it out here in a minute. You let me know if you figured it out before me. So I'm just using my pie pan. It's been greased. This goes in a 350-degree oven for about an hour. Mine took about 50 minutes. A loaf pan might take a little bit longer. So I'm just spreading this out. Still haven't figured out what I'm missing, but I will in just a little bit. I put it in the oven, and look, there are the puppies at my feet, trying to be really careful. If you see me looking down a lot or shuffling my feet, that's why they're right there underfoot. And look what I figured out. Oh, I forgot the eggs. You need 2 eggs. So I quickly took that back out of the oven and put the 2 eggs in, and it worked just fine. It had only been in there for a couple of minutes when I figured it out. And I had already gotten my pans out to start supper with, and I thought, oh no, now I remember what I forgot. So I got those eggs mixed in and got it back in the oven. It took a little bit of mixing, but I got it done. So for supper tonight, we're having creamed corn and rice and deer gravy. I'm going to be using some of my frozen corn from last spring. I'm using about 4 cups of corn today. We're just going to get that in a pan. I think the butter was maybe already in the pan. There's like a tablespoon of butter. Just using some Cajun seasoning. You can use whatever kind of seasoning you want. And then I'm using a half of a package of cream cheese. I think I also added about a quarter cup of water to that, and I just put it on low and let that cheese melt in it while I got going with my gravy. I did come back in later. I was thinking that normally when I make that, I put some kind of peppers in it, and I was thinking that I didn't have any, and I remembered I did have a few left in the freezer. So I did come back in later and add a few shishito peppers that I chopped up in there. And I'd put a little bit of parsley in too. Sorry, y'all, were right above my cabinet where my spices are. Now I'm going to get started with my gravy, and I have 4 tablespoons of butter melted, and I'm going to add some flour to that and just start cooking that flour out just a little bit. I didn't really measure. I just used 2 heaping spoonfuls of flour, and I went back and added just a tiny little bit more. We're just going to get that going on medium-high temperature. You want to be careful that you don't burn your flour. And now I'm going to be adding, I think this is when I decided to add a little bit more flour. Yeah. Added a little bit more flour. And next I'll be adding in 1 whole chopped onion. Now that my flour has cooked down a little bit, it's like a light tan color. That took maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to add the onion in and cook the onion in with the flour till it starts to get soft a little bit, maybe another 5 minutes or so. And then I start adding in some seasonings. I add in a little bit of Italian seasoning and some garlic powder, and a little bit, I think I end up adding in a little bit of beef bouillon. I used a quart of my canned deer meat and the liquid that was in there with it to thicken this gravy. It was just the right amount of liquid. After it cooked down for a little while, I added about a quarter cup more of just hot water. And that's really it. It's nothing to it. Just the meat's already cooked. I just got all of that in the pan, put it on low, and let it simmer for about 20 minutes. Check my seasoning. You just want to be careful at first to add your liquid a little bit at a time so you don't wind up with a big ball of flour that you can't mix in well. I'm telling you, on nights like this, it's so helpful to have some canned meat in your pantry. And I have been trying to use, even though I'm not participating in the pantry challenge, I still have been trying to use stuff out of my pantry this month. There's when I added my garlic powder and checked the seasoning. Gus, you can see Gus over there in the corner. He has been watching those puppies. He wants them to stay together. He doesn't like for them to be separated. He kind of herds them around, but I think he's enjoying having them around. I know I sure am. they're getting really cute and time consuming. So this gravy, like I said, I'm just letting it go for about 20 minutes, and I didn't add anything else to the corn. And that was our supper. I already had some rice that was cooked from a few days ago. And there it is. So here I am making the glaze for the peach cake, and it's just like maybe a tablespoon of milk, a cup and a half or so of powdered sugar, and just a tiny little bit of almond flavoring. Like I said, you can use vanilla if you'd rather, or really any flavoring that you want. And I just iced it. It was good. I will say, I think that I should have put a little bit more sugar. The cake was not very sweet at all, or else more icing. I don't know. I don't normally like a ton of icing, but the cake, if you don't want a cake that's super sweet, this is a good recipe for that. And so here I am this morning. It was early before daybreak, and I'm going to make us some baked oatmeal. So that's 2 cups of oats. And this is super easy just to throw together. I'm adding some baking powder. I had to get had to get my recipe so I could see what I was doing. I think I'm fixing to add some baking powder and some salt. There's my new baking powder. I'm pretty sure, well, I know my other stuff was expired. So baking powder, salt, and baking soda. Again, this recipe will be typed up down below for you. And really, you can use any fruit that you want for baked oatmeal. It can be a jam. You can use jam. You can use fresh fruit, canned fruit. You can see my 2 kind of sad-looking bananas there. So today I am making a banana and strawberry baked oatmeal. Just whisk together your dry ingredients, and now I'm going to put my wet ingredients together. I just mashed up those bananas. I scrambled up whisked together 3 eggs first, and then I added the bananas to it and just mashed all that up together. And I'm going to add a whole pint of some strawberry jam that I made that was really it never really set up good. And I made it's going on almost 2 years old, so I'm really trying to find a way to use it up. That is a half a stick of melted butter and 1.5 cups of milk. I just kind of guessed at the amount of fruit. It calls for a can, like a large can of fruit. There's my vanilla. And now I'm going to add a pint of this strawberry jam. And really that's it. You just mix it all together and put it in the oven. It took about 50 minutes to bake, and it came out really good. This recipe calls for a half a cup of sugar, but I did not add it because I used jam, and my jam already had sugar in it. But if you're using plain fruit and it's not, like maybe apples that you just cut up that haven't already been cooked, you could definitely add the sugar and cinnamon to this recipe, this particular recipe that I'm using. calls for cinnamon, but I did not want cinnamon in with strawberries and bananas, so I didn't add it today. But it was really good. And I hope that y'all enjoyed. Sorry about the voiceover, but thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.